Babs, how about a cocktail?
Back with the boys, Jimmy and Keith try to convince Calvin to join them on their sexcapades. Back with the lovebird, Spider spawns in a Molotov cocktail. Hal Havens, who plays Jimmy, is an acting coach now. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video. This amazing picture is brought to you by Full Moon Features. Starting off with the credits rolling, we got this amazing banger played in full, but here's a clip, Here in the Darkness, performed by Greg Stone. We're then introduced to three geeks, Keith, Calvin, and Jimmy, looking like me on a Friday night, lounging around, watching a couple of horror movies. But Keith and Jimmy got a little something else in mind.
Well, I know where the Tri-Delta sorority's having their initiation tonight.
Yeah? Delta Delta?
Then introducing us to three ladies, Rhonda, Frankie, and Babs, getting ready for tonight's initiation. For Eagle Eye viewers, Babs is played by Robin Steely, except this time around, she's sporting a blonde bob cut. But we'll get back to these ladies in just a bit.
Honey, it's better to give than receive.
Back with the boys, Jimmy and Keith try to convince Calvin to join them on their sexcapades. They end up giving Calvin his first beer as well. We teleport to the sorority house with the boys trying to sneak in, but Calvin is drunk off his ass. In the house, we meet Lisa, played by Michelle Bauer, and Taffy, played by Bring Stevens. They have a thing or two to say about the ritual.
I think it's institutionalized sadism.
Once the ritual begins, Babs erotically spanks the girls when the boys arrive, just in time.
What is your problem, retard?
The boys head inside to get closer to the splash zone, with Calvin's drunk ass fumbling through the kitchen. Now that the spanking's over with, it's time to cool off. The girls go wash off with the gooners right behind them. Cut to the obligatory shower scene with another banger playing in the background. The gooners lock in on the girls showering without them noticing Babs coming up the stairs.
Busted.
As punishment, Babs makes the boys join Lisa and Taffy on their last part of the initiation, which is to break into a bowling alley at the mall and steal a trophy. Jimmy despises the idea, but Keith rationalizes that they'll be alone with two hot babes, so it's settled then, as they awkwardly head out.
Daddy owns the mall.
Babs and company arrive before the gang do, introducing us to one of the best characters of the movie, the janitor. The gang makes it, they argue for a bit on how exactly they're gonna open the door. That's when. Once inside, Taffy suggests splitting up. That's when Calvin runs into Spider, played by blonde baddie Linnea Quigley, who's robbing the fucking place. Spider's had enough of the co-eds and says, cut the shit, not before asking a very important question.
Are those fucking glasses for real?
They finally grab a trophy and start to head out, when Calvin stops by to talk to Spider one last time. And that's when this happens.
Why don't you just leave the little jerk alone? If he's so far up that boy's ass, time he opens his mouth.
The trophy opens, thus freeing the imp, played by Dookie Flyswatter. Yeah, you heard me right, Dookie Flyswatter, lead singer of the horror punk band, The Haunted Garage. Everyone is obviously taken aback and surprised by the sudden appearance of the creature, with the imp thanking the group for freeing him. In return, he agrees to grant them each one wish. Calvin and Spider are against the idea, but Jimmy goes right ahead and wishes for gold. Lots of it. Next up is this Zenitsu looking ass, Keith, with his wish being, in the imp's words, you want to pork that bitch. You want to pork that bitch in the sweater. So Lisa and Keith run off to go get a room. The last person to get their wish granted is Taffy, with her wish being to be queen of the prom. Spider and Calvin walk away after witnessing this whole debauchery. However, the imp traps them inside. He also turns his attention to Babs and company, using his weird impish powers. He transforms Rhonda and Frankie into his minions. Babs makes a run for the exit, unaware of the trap set. She is knocked out.
Big dude, not panic.
Back with Jimmy and Taffy, their wishes start to go bad, with Taffy's dress reduced to plastic and Jimmy's gold turned into painted wood. That's when Frankie and Rhonda appear attacking them. However, Spider arrives in time to save them. They all make a run for it.
Have a nice trip. See you next fall.
Jimmy is the first to be killed at the hands of Rhonda and Frankie. Meanwhile, all this is going on, Keith and Lisa have been getting their freak nasty on. Taffy tries to run and hide from Frankie, but is unsuccessful, so she puts up a pretty good fight, knocking out Frankie, even if it is for a brief moment. They go for another run. Spider and Calvin board themselves in a storage closet. However, Rhonda is hot on their trail. Calvin spawns in a 9mm Spider lets 2 shots off.
It's like John Wayne.
Looks like Calvin forgot to spawn in bullets, so they make another run for it. Remember the janitor from earlier? Well, he's finally freed himself, but then this happens.
Sucker's gonna be the size of a donkey's dick come daylight. Good thing I love my work.
Post-nut Clarity Keith wanders into the kitchen looking for a snack when suddenly Rhonda appears deep-frying Keith. RIP. Calvin and Spider plan their escape when Spider brings up the fact that Calvin had used a cheesy pickup line the first time they met, finding it stupid in an endearing kind of way. Taffy comes across Keith's body. Getting caught by Rhonda and Frankie, Taffy is the next to bite the dust, getting pulled apart, like Taffy. Babs is finally awake. Coming across Jimmy's dead body, she too runs away and hides. Calvin and Spider find Taffy and 2. Spider equips the shift to her arsenal. The imp shows himself to Babs and answers all of our important questions.
I'm an imp, one of the minor imps to be sure. Wanda and Frankie have been made over into demons of a sort. What I am doing is tormenting you.
Looks like he was just stalling for time. Rhonda arrives and kicks Babs' ass. However, with a little help from Spider and Calvin, Babs makes easy work of Rhonda, only for Babs to be turned into a minion. In the search for Lisa, Calvin and Spider run into the janitor, who's just vibing out to his Marty Robbins Big Iron type music. After Calvin's exposition dump, the janitor gives us the backstory of the imp. So even more exposition dump. Alright, so get this. A guy named Dave McCabe summoned an imp because he sucked so much at bowling, got a bunch of people killed, and then died that very year in the gas chamber. The 2 main takeaways from this long drawn out conversation is trap the imp in a small enclosed space. And 2, use magic against itself. Spider and Calvin head out with this newly acquired knowledge in search for the others. The first stop is another closet.
She-demons, damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Babs pulls up in a full frontal Lisa, sporting a dominatrix outfit. Lisa fatally submits to Babs. In other words, she's dead. Back with the lovebird, Spider spawns in a Molotov cocktail. Confronting Babs, Spider and Calvin start this boss battle.
Calvin, the bottle! Get it!
Spider gets a few good punches in, however Babs is fighting dirty. Spider then successfully grabs and throws the bottle to Calvin, who gets the last laugh.
Babs, how about a cocktail?
After the fight, Calvin finds Lisa's corpse. Spider urges Calvin to hurry up so they can head out and look for the janitor.
Where's Miss Lumpy Face?
They arrive to the janitor's room a little too late. They run to the exit, but Frankie gives chase. Spider clutches the 1v1 using magic against itself, thus unlocking the exit. Calvin goes to fetch the car when surprised, it's Rhonda. Choking the shit out of Calvin, the imp watching over his minion is oblivious to the sexy blonde lady behind him. Spider traps the little shit. Coincidentally enough, Calvin flips the car, but my boy survives practically unharmed. Spider, not wanting to deal with the cops or the imp anymore, heads on out, but not before asking Calvin one more important question.
Come on, you coming with me or not? My place.
Now I know there's a lot to unpack here, so let's start off with the easy questions. Is it a well-acted movie? No. Is it well-written, in terms of it being funny? Is it a good movie? No. But let me ask you this, is it a fucking vibe? Absolutely. Never in my life have I found a movie that feels like a fucking fever dream.
Oh my god.
Here's a couple of fun facts about the actors and actresses in the movie. This is actually the first time we get to see Linnea Quigley, Bring Stevens, and Michelle Bauer in the same movie together, with their second appearance being Nightmare Sisters. And the actor who plays Calvin, Andreas Jones, was actually only 18 years old during the filming of the movie. Hal Havens, who plays Jimmy, is an acting coach now. And John Stewart Wildman, who plays Keith, is a play actor in LA and also a producer for a bunch of other independent movies. While we're on the topic of LA, when this premiered in LA, it was in a small movie theater called The Cameo that mostly played Mexican grindhouse films. They would play Cantinflas movie trailers before this movie would play. This movie actually has a sequel, 34 years after the original. Sorority Babes in the Slimeball Bowl-o-Rama 2, released in December 2022. A whole lot of twos. Directed by our girl Bring Stevens, who also has a cameo alongside Michelle Bauer. Reading from the movie's IMDb, with house mother Auntie Snake as her guide, the naughty hijinks and hilarities begin. I remember when the movie first came out, and there's no real connection to the original, other than Bring Michelle, one of the original writers, and the story title. But if you guys want me to check it out on its own, let me know. When it comes to this 80s cult classic, it's another one of those so bad it's good films. I personally don't see it as a bad movie. I see the vision that the writers, producer, directors were going for. A lot of those films were independently made, which all brings a certain vibe, which is what I love about 80s horror movies, which at times feels more like an experience rather than watching a product pumped out by big movie business.
So I got out the peanut butter, pulled out my John Thomas, and did the deed.
With that being said, let's get straight to my favorite and least favorite part of the movie. My favorite part of the movie has to be the janitor, hands down one of the funniest characters of the movie. The drawn out conversation he has with Calvin and Spider towards the end is comedy gold. I wish I could show you the whole conversation, but here's a clip that sums up basically the whole thing.
Wait here, you lock the door, and listen for us, please.
Dang thing's going on the blink again.
I said you wait here, lock the door, and listen for us.
It still ain't working. I better wait right here and lock the door and then listen for you.
Oh, great idea.
And my least favorite part of the film has to be how short of a runtime it has. With the movie clocking it in just under 8 minutes, I wish it was just a tad bit longer. With the movie being written in only 10 days, and the whole movie being shot in just 2 weeks, I guess beggars can't be choosers. I rate this movie an 8.5 out of 10. Shout out Linnea for being a cutie patootie. And that's all for today, folks. Make sure to like and subscribe, because you don't want to miss our next feature, where we travel down to 1980s rural Louisiana, where a woman inherits a hotel that just happens to be built on top of one of the 7 gates of hell, where Italian director and gore maestro Lucio Fulci takes us beyond our realm of comprehension.